you have been around this program for any length of time. You know I love talking about animals, particularly zoo animals, but I especially love talking about zoo animals with somebody who understands something about zoo animals, like Grace Stafford. And welcome back, even if it's temporary, to the Valley of the Sun. You, the Wildlife World Zoo for all of those years, and now deciding to just be independent somewhere in the Northland.
Oh, yes. You know, zookeeping is such a lucrative career that I thought I would just, cut the career short and go off and retire somewhere. No, actually, still involved in the zoo community in a different capacity these days. Loving life at the higher country in Peoples Valley. I'm actually on the fire department there. Can you believe that? I'm like a 57-year-old rookie firefighter. God help the community.
And well, what is this zoologic thing?
Well, I've been telling animal stories for, gosh, how long? 25, 30 years. Many of them with you.
Yeah.
And when I stepped away from Wildlife World, I thought I still need to share stories. But instead of being the one telling the story, I help people tell their stories. And so Zoologic is a podcast. It's a weekly podcast. I think we're on episode 272 this week. And we have scientists, best-selling authors. We've had Chelsea Clinton on, Jack Hanna, influencers.
How do we find it?
What's that?
How do we find it?
You can find it anywhere you get your podcast. So, Apple Music, Google Music, Google Play. It's on all of them. But it's
Zoologic.
Yep, 2 words.
Okay.
Zoologic.
With Dr. Grace Stafford.
Yeah.
Who is here actually not to promote Zoologic. Primarily, you are here to answer this question.
Yeah.
Friend of mine, godmother in her 80s, goes out in the backyard week and a half ago, just simply to make sure that her puppy has time to himself. And a coyote comes in, attacks the dog. She's trying to do something about it. Oh, wow. She falls, she's injured. Her dog dies. What do we do with coyotes coming into our property? Because they're everywhere.
They are. They're a very successful species, and I like coyotes. I think we should admire what they can do. The challenge, of course, is as we move further and further into their habitats, as we build these lush golf courses that draw in prey animals like rabbits and so forth, we're going to have those predators in our community. Coyotes have been really successful adapting to human beings. I've seen coyotes, really savvy ones, literally look both ways before they cross the street. They're that clever. And so we have to be equally clever when we're out and about, particularly at dusk, particularly at night when these animals are more active, especially now during the hotter months of the year.
And maybe most especially if we have pets.
Yes, absolutely, especially the small pets. The medium to larger size animals, if they make some noise, if they bark or whatever when they go out because they detect the coyotes, they're probably okay, because most coyotes that aren't injured or otherwise in trouble, they're savvy enough to stay away from a healthy sized dog. But those small little teacup type pets, whether it's coyotes or even owls, they are prey at night, and so we've got to take extra precaution when they're outside.
This seems to be Coyote Month in my life, because I had another friend who didn't have that tragic an experience with a coyote, but looked out the back glass door and saw that there was a coyote in her backyard chasing a rabbit. Mm-hmm. And she obviously doesn't want coyotes in her backyard.
Right.
What should she have done?
Well, if she's got a block wall fence, which is pretty typical here,
she does not.
No fencing at all. That's a bit of a challenge because, of course, if she's got any kind of food, and it doesn't have to be the food that you and I would enjoy or even your pets would enjoy, but if there's anything luscious there, like drawing in rabbits, it's going to be tempting, right? One thing she might try, they do make some different mechanisms, sound. You can hook up like a radar detection, motion detection device on a hose that can spray a hose. So there are some non-lethal means to discourage animals. I will say, however, nothing is more encouraging than a smorgasbord in someone's backyard. So if you've got a lush backyard and you're drawing in wildlife of the bird kind, of the rabbit kind, and so forth, you can expect that the predators are also going to be aware of that.
And coyotes can jump pretty high too, can't they?
They can. They absolutely can. Now, most of them are pretty wise to stay away from human beings because there's so much out there for them to eat. Our trash, the rabbits, as we say, and small animals. But occasionally you'll come across an animal that is not as successful. Maybe they're injured a little bit, maybe they're on their own, maybe they're weak and hungry, and they'll just attack whatever is necessary. So we just have to be cautious when we're out there and avoid leaving anything tempting that might be food for an
Can you
animal.
really scare a coyote, though, with noise?
You can. I actually had a bobcat on our property, woke me up in the middle of the night. The chickens were going crazy because there was a bobcat at their door. And I went out there and I just had a flashlight and I just clapped my hands a few times, and that was enough for that bobcat. But I live out in rural areas where it doesn't see a lot of people. Here in town is a more challenge because those coyotes are so savvy. They're used to people, they're used to our habits. They know when the lights are on, the lights are off, that sort of thing. So we really have to take those extra precautions. You know, an air horn works miracles. Now, your neighbors might hate that at 2 a.m., but if it's you or your pet, have that air horn when you're out hiking. Take a walking stick with you. Make yourself big and visual. Never run. Never try to chase because you don't want to invoke those prey drives.
And
that animals
don't
have.
shoot them because the state frowns on that, right?
Well, the state, I believe, has a 365-day-a-year hunting season on them, but you do need a license to do that. And then you have local ordinances as far as firing a weapon inside city limits. So there are a lot of things you've got to research before you do something like that. Better to call Game and Fish and your local law enforcement to
For
deal with that
those,
pest
for
animal.
those of you, by the way, who are right now saying, "Geez, I miss Grace Stafford. He used to be on television all the time." Well, he's on with his own podcast now called Zoologic. You can find him there or the next time he visits us here on Channel 7.